cannot talk about pistol caliber carbines without talking about the grandpappy of them all, the MP5. It's a platform as iconic as Tom Cruise, as sexy as Eric Roberts, and as timeless as Vanilla Ice. Now, the design is a little long in the tooth, having been in service since 1966 and relying on old school stamping and welding procedures for manufacture. But for all the haters that claim this weapon is too old, I'd like to offer some perspective. The AK-47, which uses equally old school manufacturing techniques, and has been in service for 19 years longer. Now, that said, there are some legitimate gripes about the platform depending on what you're trying to do with it. Reloads are certainly slower, and it's not designed to be compatible with lasers and night vision googles. Go watch Holopfeel tear into this thing pretty good on his channel. He's a pretty funny dude, and he pulls no punches. I'll put a link to his video down below. All that said, there is a reason that this weapon is still in service 55 years later. The secret sauce of the staying power of the MP5 is the roller delayed blowback operating system that was taken directly from the G3 rifle. There are quite a few videos out there that will do a direct comparison of the MP5 versus pretty much every other 9mm PCC that there is. I personally like the Honest Outlaw for his stuff, so go check him out. And also, if you'd like a detailed history of the platform and need help falling asleep at night, go check out Small Arm Solutions. He does a really nice deep dive into this guy. Okay, let's get down to brass tacks. This here is not an actual Heckler & Koch SP5. I ain't no millionaire, and I ain't got no connections in the industry, so I cannot afford to spend the $3,000+ to buy a real H&K. Nope, this here is a clone. And there are a few clone options out there. You got Zenith, who used to import the MKEs from Turkey. Now you got Century importing the same MKEs from Turkey. You got PTR, who fairly recently got into the MP5 cloning business. And you got your high-end Dakota Tactical, which ain't much cheaper than the real H&K, but might be just as nice. Now, this ain't any of those options. This here is an Omega Arms. Omega Arms was a brand sold by Atlantic a few years back. You could still find the Atlantic Arms videos promoting the guns and showing off the whole line. Unfortunately, you can also find more than a few videos on YouTube of people showing issues with their Omega Arms MP5 clones. Apparently, they took enough flack to drive them out of the roller delayed MP5 style cloning business, because Atlantic shows them always is out of stock, and Omega Arms website doesn't even feature them anymore. Now they just make UMP clones. Now, I ain't never had any of those issues that those other people had. My Omega has run pretty solid for me, which is a good thing given the cost. Now, I bought this as the OM9RSF model, which means it originally shipped as a 16-inch carbine, most of which was a faux suppressor that was pin and welded onto a 3-lug mount up here. It also shipped with a Cho 8 slide folding stock on the back. I don't know, Chode, whatever it was called. Back when Atlantic Firearms sold it, it went for about $1,879, which compared to today's prices for the Century and the PTR options is a little bit more expensive. But the stock alone that shipped with mine goes for over $200 on hkparts.net. Now, what drew me to the Omega brand over some of the other clone options that existed at the time was the 1913 rail welded to the top. That and the fact that Omega Arms had actually partnered with hkparts.net to hand select all the bits and pieces that would go into this particular gun. They wanted to make sure that they were using the best German technology that was available. Also, being from Atlantic Firearms, I figured that if the gun did shit the bed, they would honor the warranty and take good care of me. Thankfully, I've never had to find out. Now, obviously I've changed a bit since I bought it, so we may as well get into all that. And we're going to go ass to mouth, because that's how I roll. So starting on the ass end, we got a Sig Sauer minimalist style wire stock on a J-Mac Customs 1913 end cap mount. Now the chode stock that came with the gun was okay, but it was a lot more heavy than it really needed to be, and it had a longer length of pull than this little guy. Probably added an extra inch or two on the back end. Now, I've mentioned it before, but my wife does have nubby little arms, and she didn't like the longer butt stock. So this one retains the ability to fold to the side, but it is a lot lighter. And when folded up, it makes for a nice tight compact package. Now the stock adapter from J-Mac was about 90 bucks, and the stock runs at another $200. Moving forward, the grip module and trigger pack that actually are the ones that came with the gun. I haven't changed much here at all. Lots of people rag on the trigger of the MP5 in general, but I don't know if I got lucky or if HKparts.net just picked out nicer triggers, but this one is not all that bad. It's spongy and the reset is not as clicky as a Glock, but I could still rattle off some pretty good strings with this particular trigger, so I don't have many complaints here. Now I did try installing the Magpul SL grip module. That does have a nicer grip angle and better texture, yada yada yada, so if you're covered in blood, sweat, and semen, it's not going to just fly out of your hands. But for whatever reason, that one did not like to fit on my receiver, and there was a little bit of wobble in play. Now, one thing I will not tolerate is having wobbly shit on my guns. So that was 60 bucks well spent. However, I did buy the Magpul Safety Selector, as you can see here, which is a nice upgrade. This one is enhanced, a little bit longer, so it is actually possible to actuate the safety without having to break my grip. Now, before you get all giggity, this does have 3 positions, but both of these guys are just semi-automatic. I ain't got no full auto sear. Now, the Magpul Safety ships as an ambidextrous unit. Now, I went against my own philosophy of use here and opted not to install the ambidextrous selector on this particular gun. And the reason for that was when I did try it, it protruded away from the receiver just a touch, and there was a bit of a gap between the lever that went on this side and the receiver itself. That just annoyed the shit out of me. So I took it off and put the plug back on, and now it's fine. The safety package from Magpul goes for 47 bucks. And up front, we got Midwest Industries M-Lock Handguard. Now, in order to do the install, I did have to cut off a sling loop that was up here, but that didn't bother me none. Now, the handguard itself goes for about $130, but this has to be one of the finest accessories that I've put on this firearm. For one, there's absolutely no wobble at all. It fits on here perfectly. This is a very high quality piece of kit. And the M-Lock slots allow you to have a lot more versatility to add in these accessories. So I done like vertical grips, and I got that Magpul MOE grip, I guess, whatever you want to call it, the MVG. This one goes for about 20 bucks. Actually, the only reasonably priced option on this gun. But the M-Lock slots allowed me to mount a white light to the firearm as well. And obviously, you could probably put laser beams and all kinds of other shit on here. Most of this side is useless because of the charging handle. Most people will point that out, so you really can't grab onto that if you got shit sticking off the side. So I don't bother. Now the light on here is a Mod Light PLH V2 3352 bezel with a clicky tail cap. Boom. The mount is a Reptilia torch body sold through Q, and it's got the clear anodizing on there. Now, this whole package was actually intended to go onto a different firearm, but I moved shit around a lot, so it ended up on here. The Reptilia mount is about 120 bucks, and the rest of the light bits cost you about $279. Pretty ridiculous for a freaking flashlight, but it is a very bright light. Now lastly, on top we have an Aimpoint T1 Micro. I keep it on the flat mount so that I can co-witness through the iron sights. That comes in handy. The iron sights themselves are really nice, and this does ship with a real good rear drum. Not some of the shitty ones that some of the other pistols have come out with. Again, this one shipped as a rifle, so it was built as a rifle. And after I received the tax stamp to make this into an SBR, I had the gunsmith cut off the faux suppressor. And the guy did a hell of a job. Managed not to damage the original 9-inch barrel, or mess up the 3-lug, or the 1/2x28 threads that are hiding underneath. And that's pretty much all I have to say about the upgrades. In my opinion, it doesn't need any more than this. The gun's fun to shoot, recoil is almost non-existent, it suppresses really well, and is still one of the most sexy guns that I own. That said, there are some downsides. The action gets filthy every time you shoot it, and it takes forever to clean if you're an OCD douchebag like me. And the chamber is fluted, so if you're the type that likes to reload your brass, keep that in mind. And lots of people bitch about the fact that the ergonomics aren't the same as an AR-15, but I pretty much think they're all idiots. I don't see anything ergonomic about the T-handle on an AR-15. It would be nice if this thing did have a bolt hold open for the last round, but the Ks ain't got that either, and people don't seem to bitch about that one quite as much. The safety is definitely a bit goofy, but you can fix that now with the minor upgrade. Not that you should have to spend more money to fix problems on an already expensive gun. You can pick on all faults in the gun's design, but when you shoot it, you realize why the gun has been a success. It's awesome, pure and simple. Now, mine don't say H&K on the side, so I don't get to prance around in a gold members only jacket with my big PP glistening and flopping in the breeze. But I do love this firearm, and it's set up just the way I like it. And it didn't cost me no H&K money, which allowed me to go and buy another pistol caliber carbine. And I'll share that one in my next video. Now, one last thing I do want to bring up about this particular firearm is magazines. The gun itself shipped with one 30-round POF branded magazine. Now, they might as well have labeled it as POS because these are pieces of shit. I've tried these Ets Plastic Mags. Now, I've seen a lot of people that have pretty good luck with them. I do not. For one, it don't really fit in my gun. Even with the bolt handle open, this thing does not want to lock in place. I have to wiggle it, and I have to jam it, I have to smack it. And even then, I don't really trust it. So, I do not have really good reliability with these particular magazines, so I don't use them. Real H&K mags, they go for about 70 bucks a piece. They're unobtainium if you can even find them, so I don't have too many of them, but I do keep a couple loaded up in the safe. But I felt the need to talk about that. I haven't tried many other magazine types because there aren't that many that are being made for this guy. And I have no interest in drum magazines, so that new Magpul thing don't really turn me on all that much. I just wanted to throw that out there though. Now before I close it out, you may have noticed that I have yet to mention the H&K slap. Well, frankly, I don't find that all that exciting. The only things I enjoy slapping are my monkey and my wife. But that's just me. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and remember, I don't know who you are out there, but I got a gun.